Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 46 of the Principal PLN podcast. It's Jessica and I today. Teresa has something else going on. Jessica, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Although the Packers are on right now, I hope they're doing better than me.
I can't believe that you were able to take this while the Packers are on. I mean, you have your shirt, and we are cutting it down to only 20 minutes, but girl.
I'm not well, people are probably going to throw things at me. I'm okay with just watching the last half of the game.
Okay.
Like, a football game is so long, like I have stuff to do. I'm used to just catching the last half of it.
Yeah, it's sort of like you probably would love like Red Zone, like where you can only you only watch like the exciting parts.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Red Zone?
No, I haven't. I don't have cable. That probably sounds like something on cable.
Oh, we might have to explore that a little bit. There's this thing called.
Is it on the
There's
internet?
this thing called. Yeah,
On the
there's this. There's this thing called the World Wide Web.
Oh, okay.
Tablet and cable, but no. The long and the short of it is, because I think I've known you for a little while, and you have a bit of a. You admit like having a little bit of an ADD mind.
Slightly.
Actually,
quite a bit.
Red Zone is this thing that the NFL did a few years ago, where they only will show like the most exciting parts of the game, like when the one team is threatening to score, so they may be in the 20-yard line or something like that. So if you have, say 8 games on at 1 o'clock, instead of sitting there and watching one just if you put Red Zone on, it's always the most active part of every game.
Yeah,
But
so you're watching the World Series?
Yeah.
We're just having an ADD moment. Sorry.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're starting out great, actually, all ADD on this show.
Yeah, Principal ADD. But actually, today's topic is what do you have to do? And so before we start,
speaking of ADD, like our show or like the work that we do, like I can literally start on something and then I'll like get distracted by an email, and then I'll do something else, and then I'll totally I'll go a whole day without doing the first task I started on. So we could just call this show Principal ADD to-do lists.
we could, because
I don't know, maybe it's just me.
a lot of people, that I work with, they think that I have ADD, and so I've never been formally diagnosed. Although I will tell you a funny story. My son has been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. I think it's all the same, but whatever. And so anyway, we had to meet with this psychologist, and we had to answer all these questions from the parent perspective. And I said to the guy, after I got through it, I'm like, this looks interesting. I mean, it really describes my friends. So he says, do you know that when you, do you know what your friends say about you? And I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, you're right.
You know what, though? I swear this job induces ADHD. I mean, we don't do anything for more than 5 minutes before we get interrupted.
Right.
It's just part of the job.
And I think technology is aiding that a little bit because, if you think about it, 20 years ago, what would you have to do? Oh, that's a great question. What would you have to do 20 years ago? I mean, I talk to people all the time who were principals back then, and they just say, the world was absolutely 100% different. So 20 years ago, it's 1994. I'm assuming that they did have the internet. I know they did when I was in college. I started in 92. But I don't know how many were using it on a day-to-day basis. But the phone and the cell phone and the people stopping in, I'm sure it's always been pretty busy, but with everything else that's going on, that's what we're going to try to solve today. What do you have to do? And maybe it's what do you have to do to stay focused?
Yeah, are you asking me?
I think I'm asking you.
What do I have to do? Well, I guess I won't even answer the what do I have to do, because we all have this never-ending list with, everything going on and all duties otherwise assigned.
Right.
But I think the most helpful tools that I find, well, first of all, have you read David Allen's book, Getting Things Done?
I haven't. I have not.
That's that's a great book, and it really is more of a business perspective, but it really he's really big on getting rid of the clutter and having a system so that you don't have everything, you're not having to hold it in your mind of everything that you're doing. You want a mind clear like water, I think he says. Like you need your mind free, and you have an inbox system of where workflow goes. And I'm going to totally do him a disservice right now, but that was a great book that I would recommend people to start with for productivity. And I use a few different systems. I use an app called Remember the Milk, and that is like,
Oh, that's right. I think you've told me that before.
yeah, instead of Post-it notes, I put things there. However, I have found myself not using it as much lately. I have been using my Google Calendar for so much, and I have I have my main Google Calendar that my secretaries see, and it's my appointments and meetings and whatever. But I've really been using the Tasks Google Calendar and scheduling things in that I'm going to do. And then that way, if I don't do it, I move it to another time on my calendar. Because even when I was using my Remember the Milk app, I was finding that I would kind of like look at it and go, oh, well, what should I start on now? But if I actually schedule it in my calendar, then my brain gets ready. Oh, yep, that's what I have to do. It's like my own little personal secretary telling me what I need to do.
Okay,
like
so can we?
Boxing me and telling me to write.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we unpack a little bit of the milk real quick? You've
Yeah.
talked about the milk. Can you explain to people, like, and not in 21 seconds, what Remember the Milk is?
Yeah, okay. So it kind of looks, I don't know if you can see this, but it's just an app that you can add in. Like, so if I'm going to add in a task, I can have things on different lists. So like, let's say, I want to look at a list. David Allen talks about having a list of like phone calls or computer work or I can't remember what different things. So I have different lists for like budgeting or, like I said, phone calls or evaluations or newsletter things. So whenever I think of something, I will put it in there instead of writing it on a Post-it note because I lose Post-it notes. Crazy. But so I'll push the little plus, I'll add in what the task is. I can put in a due date of when it's due. I can prioritize it. So if it's high priority, medium, or low priority, things show up on my list. Like if I marked it as high priority, they show up at the top of the list.
Okay.
You can mark things as reoccurring, like every Tuesday I work on attendance monitoring letters, so every Tuesday it shows up in there for me.
Now, you're saying that you haven't been using it lately because you're sort of transitioning a little bit to the Google Calendar and Google Tasks.
And I love Remember the Milk, so it's kind of weird.
You're sort of, the milk's getting a little spoiled.
Yeah, my milk is getting spoiled. Although, no, it really is one of those places where, like, you're out in the hallway and you think, oh, I need to do this. I'll add it in. Then it's there. Like, then I don't have to think about it. So
tell me how you use Google Calendar with your secretary.
Okay, well, my secretary has access to any meetings. I didn't give her access to see my tasks because she doesn't need to see the crap I'm working on.
Right.
I just use that for me. Like, I schedule in things I'm going to work on. Like, tomorrow I have a whole hour that I'm blocking out of time just to sit and read teacher SLOs. Or I've got another piece of paperwork and I put it on there. And I'm not truly faithful to that. Like, if I don't get it done, then I just move it. But it's still there.
And is there a way that, like, you resolve it and then it's done?
No, there's not. And Remember the Milk, you can check it off that it's done, and it's, like crossing it off and feeling good that you finished it. There's not in Google Calendar. Maybe there is, and I just don't know. I just know that if I've gone past it and I didn't move it to another day or time, that I'm done with it.
So what about Google Tasks? How's that?
I don't know. Is that a feature in Google?
I thought that's something you're just talking about.
Oh, no, I made a calendar in Google, a Google Calendar that is just tasks.
Okay.
And I actually, like, I have other calendars in Google too. Like, I have a personal calendar, and that was an idea from Melinda Miller, like of having a separate calendar that you. I don't know if you use Google Calendar, like, there's different color coding for what the different
Yeah.
calendars are.
Hmm.
And then you can separate it too and look at, like, okay, how much personal things do I have going on? Like, do I have a
Yeah.
life? Usually I don't, but it's a good reminder.
Right.
Started
Yes, I do remember her talking about that.
Yeah, yeah. I also, just a couple weeks ago, had this great idea. Maybe it's not that great, but I started a calendar that's just for student discipline. So, like, if I'm, investigating or dealing with a student, I put it in there. Or, like, I just got a call at the end of the day or a bus referral or whatever. I put in my calendar to meet with those students, but I have it as a student discipline calendar. I just like seeing the different color,
Hmm.
and I think it's good, easy documentation too if I want to, like, just look at that calendar of students that I met with for discipline.
That's interesting. Yeah, you know what? When I think about all this, I'm sort of old school in a sense that, well, first off, my district uses Microsoft Office Calendar. So,
Oh,
so
that sounds awesome.
with that, um, I try to be positive about that. Um, there is a feature that you can
I
share
would too.
calendars in. Okay. So you can, so I share my calendar with my secretary, and she can put events in, I can put events in, and then what I do, because hey, if this is what we're going to use it. I also send out calendar invites for everything for my school. Everything goes through my calendar on Google or um, Microsoft Office because that's a system we use. So people can accept it, then they have it on their phone, and then it gives them a reminder and stuff. So it's very good, and it's really worked. It's gotten better over the last, I would say, year or two. That I've really had everyone encouraging them to use their calendars because for a long time they just used the email uh, portion of it and they never used the calendar. And
Yeah.
then every weekend when I'm doing the Bacon Weekly, if it's not on the calendar, it's like it doesn't exist because I don't remember things. I don't remember what people told me. So, I mean, I will
Hmm.
scan my email real quick. Usually that's to see if they've sent me any pictures. But really, when I go through the weekly overview, I go through the calendar. So the cool thing is that our district is using it a lot as well. So I'll send out calendar invites, and it's great because I don't have to send the email to remind people or to invite them to things. It's just like, for instance, if we're having the Halloween frolic this Tuesday, so I would send a calendar invite to make sure everybody has that on your on the calendar. And then with the supervisors and district administrators, if they want to come, I'll know about how many accept it if they want to come and
Hmm.
participate. So that's how we use that. Now the problem with that is you have that calendar and it doesn't interface with the blog. Like the easiest thing to do, and people have told me this, if we had a Google, if we were
Hmm.
Gmail, is that you just have a district calendar or a school calendar, and that would be embedded onto the blog. So anytime
You
that
know
you
what?
update,
You don't have to be a Gmail school.
no,
No, like, we have Google Apps for education, but we don't use Gmail. So, like, I do that. I have an elementary staff calendar that they have access to, and that's on my staff blog for them to see. We use
right.
Google Calendar for scheduling our computer labs or scheduling IEPs.
So is
It's
that through
awesome.
the? We don't have the Google Apps though. We're going to Microsoft Office 365.
Okay.
So apparently there's some really good features in there, but
Awesome.
yeah, it's I see a lot of traffic on Twitter about it as well.
Dude, you're joking, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
not really.
here's another, when you're scheduling meetings, have you ever used Doodle?
Yes, yes, I have.
Yeah, that's another
That's
great
very
tool.
helpful. Yeah,
Instead of the
especially for
email,
those. What's that?
instead of the 18 emails back and forth, like, no, that day
Yeah,
doesn't work. How about this day? Well, no, how about this day? And you just make a
right.
doodle and let people vote.
Yes, that really helps out. I find it like when you have a bunch of people that have to go to, something, but they're all coming from different areas. They'll use that. I use that more like if I have to do like phone conferences or different things outside of work. But there's a couple things that we've done, utilizing that at school. Wow,
Hmm.
time is really flying by tonight.
I know, we have fun. And I can't believe you can't hear my children upstairs, like having their own
No,
Packers game. I have no idea what's
not
going on upstairs.
not at all. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy because one of the ideas that you said was like we could talk about email, and I thought, how in the world are we going to talk about email for 20 minutes?
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, I could talk about email for 20 minutes. Wouldn't believe
really?
it. Yeah.
Maybe we will have to have one dedicated just to email. We could probably
I
even,
think we could
yeah.
have Kurt Reese join in on that one, and he can talk
Yeah.
about how he gets to inbox zero all the time.
Yes, that's what my quest is, and I really work on that a lot. Now I'm going to look at my work email right now, and I'm not even close. I'm probably in the like 20s right now.
Yeah. I have like 20 there that I haven't done anything with, and then I
Right.
think 15 unread. But Kurt's
Yeah,
probably at zero. I just send him emails every day just to make sure he's
just
not
to
at
make
zero.
sure. Well, I have files that I use. Some
Mhm.
people, and this maybe we'll do this on our email show. Some people actually have files, and then they'll have it sent. Like they'll tell me that they have a file for me because I send out a lot of emails. I guess I do send out a lot of emails. I try not to, but I guess when you're the principal, you kind of have to. And it just goes right into that folder. Now I never check folders. The folders are a place to store things, so I don't do like some people do the reverse, but. Before we depart for tonight, I have a question for you. How was Washington?
Oh my gosh, it was great.
Because if you don't know and you're listening, Jessica Johnson was the 2014 Wisconsin Principal of the Year, and that afforded her the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., along with the other 50 states. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I
And she got the chance to go to Washington. What was it called?
Washington D.C.
No, no, no. I know they named that quite a long time ago. That's good though. What was the event called?
Oh, just the National Distinguished Principals program, I guess. It was a 2-day event.
Okay.
And then before it started, I also joined in with NAESP. The current president had asked me to join in for the release of the early learning competencies, and there was a big press release. Like,
Wow.
actually, when you see a press release on TV in DC, that's where we were at. It was really cool. So
Nice.
some
Yeah, I saw
researchers
the
spoke,
pictures. Yeah.
Libby Daggett, and she's like the deputy something to Arnie Duncan. And so I ended up getting to sit next to her up on the panel. That was so cool.
Wow.
And then I'd have to say my favorite part of just overall of the whole thing was that I got to hang out with Tony Sinanis, who's,
That's
one of
right.
my best friends, my BFF's on, Twitter.
Right.
And so I got to meet him, which was really cool, and we worked hard at getting people on Twitter.
That's awesome. That's really. It looked like you
Yeah.
had a lot of fun. And I will say that you shine up pretty nicely. Like you had to like put on like the nice dresses and all that kind of stuff.
That was weird. Like, and I have to say the food was so fancy that I could like not even eat it. I was like, what? What is this? Can I get a brat?
Yeah. Can I put this Packer shirt on and have a brat?
I know. That's what we do. Yeah, it was so
That's
fancy.
yeah.
Fancy.
Sometimes that kind of stuff is a little overrated, but I'm really glad. Hopefully, maybe some of those new connected principals are watching Principal PLN or checking out blogs and stuff like that now. That's really cool.
Yeah, I hope so. There were some great people, and I want to keep learning from them, and that's what Tony and I were talking about with them. So, yeah,
Yes, they probably
awesome
have
people.
so much to offer. So even the person from Hawaii came?
Yes, the person from Hawaii brought real Hawaiian leis. Did you know that leis are made out of actual flowers, like fresh flowers? I didn't even
No,
know that.
I
Well,
didn't even know.
as we were walking in, he put a Hawaiian lei on us. I was like, oh my gosh, they're real fresh flowers.
That's
I had
crazy.
no
See,
idea.
I've never been to Hawaii. Is it true that every time you go there, you get laid? I mean, you get a you know what I mean. It's
Yeah, that I don't know. But I now
okay,
know what a
but
real Hawaiian day is like.
I just remember like like being a kid and watching the Brady Bunch, and then once they got off the plane, everyone got the lei, and then
I
you
have
know
no idea. I want to try that someday, okay? I'll let you know. That's on my list.
that's your bucket list.
To go to Hawaii.
Okay, are you gonna put that on your task list, like in your Google calendars?
Oh, not quite.
I think Teresa's gonna be cutting all this stuff.
Yeah. All
No,
right.
I think it's good. I just wanted to bring that up. I'm really glad, really, really happy for you. That's awesome. And great job. Great job. So we will be, wrapping the show up, but we wanted to, of course, make sure to follow, our friends, Teresa Stagger, who is at Principal Stagger. Yes, at Principal Stagger, and of course Jessica Johnson is at Principal J, and I'm at Dr. Spike Cook. And check us out on theprincipalpln.com, where we will post this. We are also on iTunes and SoundCloud. And our next episode, I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to talk about email.
All right.
I think it's going to happen.
Okay. Sounds good. Are you ready?
Okay.
Principal PLN out.